What's going on? The coffee's not doing it for you today?
What?
I was going to say that, but the coffee's not doing it for you today.
No, no. Like, I'm just going to leave it at that. No. All right, everybody. Welcome back to, I guess I'm going to start calling this the Let's Talk edition. And we are with my friend James Ruberti, who owns and operates Ruberti Construction here on Cape Cod. And I wanted to have him on the show because he is a new business owner and he's a young guy. You're 26 years old. And because he's been in some of my videos lately, we did the review on his cat machine. And people are always asking me questions about him, and even we even have some local guys to ask questions about. Yeah. And I'm going to drink an energy drink because I'm trying not to do coffee. But I'm also going to take some notes, and I'm going to show you my notes. I'm going to critique you, and then at the end, I'm going to show you my notes.
So talking about our jobs together where you've been helping me out, where have you been? I haven't seen you in like a month.
I'm actually remodeling that room.
Oh, yep.
And a bathroom upstairs.
Should have just brought my excavator in there.
Just demo it. Just demo it. Like, I could just lose that. Yeah, so what'd you do today?
Working on a septic.
Yeah.
I'm in town, leach field replacement, so... You know, luckily the winter's been a little mild this year. But I think before we get rolling, I definitely want to do a disclaimer. I mean, like you said, I'm 26 years old, so we're just going to talk shop, kind of talk about my experience. I think my main goal and one of the reasons I really wanted to come on was to inspire. I think we've talked about this before, you and I, is like to inspire the younger generation, kids that are a little younger than me to get into the industry. I mean, I was that kid scourging through YouTube, trying to find videos about stuff. And
I think my disclaimer is we probably are going to cuss on this. So this is not really a video that you want to... I have some other videos with machines. So if you have a little kid watching, you know, hide your kids and grandmas because this isn't... We got pot... Where we're from
it's real. It's real talk.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your background.
Okay.
Actually, tell me a lot about your background.
So this month will be 5 months officially on my own in business. So we started like mid-fall. Before that, I've been in the industry, I guess you could say, for about 10 years officially. You know, when I was younger, 12, 13, I'd go around, mess around on machines at a local landscapers company. But really in high school, I kind of got more experience into the landscape construction, running machines, you know, just working your summer jobs while I was at school. And then I think really when I got serious into the industry was in college. I actually went to Boston University for something not related to construction at all. I went in originally for entrepreneurship. I mean, when I was young, I was that kid running around his neighborhood, mowing lawns, doing landscape cleanup, stuff like that, you know, the typical story you hear. So I knew I always wanted to kind of be my own boss in some way and just work up that experience. And then about halfway through college, I ended up switching to more of the marketing, advertising side of things. It just seemed to interest me more than the numbers, the statistics, economics, you know, all those business type classes that you take. I had more of an interest in how to sell yourself, how to build a brand, you know, stuff like that, which in business, as you know, it's with your social media and even just marketing and stuff is huge. It's how you get and grow business.
I have no education in any of that stuff.
Which, you know, I think the best way is trial by fire to learn sometimes. I mean, I don't regret going to college by any means. I think it was an amazing opportunity for me. I learned a lot and met some amazing people networking, and it's definitely opened up some doors for me. But basically where I was going with that was, so when I was in school, I actually worked for Red Bull, the energy drink company. So I had an option to work there when I graduated. I know, it's that's why I was making the joke.
Yeah, they might be mad at you. I'm not drinking a Red Bull.
And then during the summer, when I'd come down and intern for a very large road construction company, which we know where I learned estimating. I mean, sometimes I'd be in a rock truck. Every day was different.
And they're a big company.
Yeah.
I had, as you know, I actually had one of my trucks, a semi-trailer, subbed out to them for a season. I did a season there, and I didn't like the way the trucking industry was going as far as expense, so I got rid of that part. But
you know, busy season, they have 50 plus hired trucks out on the road, so
that you know of
Yeah.
on your job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're doing a lot of work. So I interned there, and I kind of always, since I was young, had that machine bug. And so when it came to graduation, it was move to California and work for Red Bull, which I think would have been an amazing opportunity. But I really wanted to come down and take a shot down here and see if I could, make it in this industry, so to speak. So I actually, right out of college, I worked for a large landscape company down here. And when I say large landscape, I was a site superintendent on a project that the landscaping was worth $19 million.
Yeah.
It was a year-long project, so it's not like we're going in and doing a $60,000 patio in somebody's backyard. I mean, this was a huge site.
I think I know the project you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the one where it like the person bought up like multiple properties.
Correct.
And built like
Disclaimer: they own Wayfair.com. I'm sure everybody knows that, but that's their property. The people who own that.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of money, and
they bought up.
their...
I remember going to the dump when the company that got hired to do the demo was demoing all of the houses. They bought like multiple houses in a row. Pretty much like, I would say, like buying up a neighborhood, tearing it down and building your own compound.
And destroyed them totally furnished. Didn't take one thing out of the house. Wouldn't let anybody sell. I mean, TVs, washers and dryers.
From what I understand, people
cabinets.
just took their check and left.
Yeah.
Because I was at the dump when some of those semi-trucks full of demo was coming in. So that's not a small piece of property.
No.
You were telling me that like the stone cutters were going through saws.
Yeah, so we actually had the steel manufacturer come to our job site because we had, I don't know, probably 20 cutoff saws going all day at once, and they were dying like after 2 weeks, like completely crap in the bed. So we had the manufacturer come down, and he's like, what people don't realize is these saws are really only meant to last 300 hours. And our problem was there was so much square footage of veneer stonework, and it was granite. We were cutting through granite. But those saws were working literally from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. nonstop. There was one guy, all he was doing was cutting. So those hours, when you're a guy working, maybe you're going out to cut an apron or cut for a utility tie-in.
20 minutes,
Yeah,
maybe, is like the longest
you're gonna get
I've ever
a lot
cut.
of longevity out of it. But I mean, this work was like brute work. I mean, it tested the saws, which was nice. You were able to really see that in the field feedback, which is why I think they had the manufacturer come out. But yeah, that was a learning experience. I mean, yeah, the stone we were laying to buy was like $70 a square foot just to buy it.
Yeah.
Not install it.
I've
So
been
it
by
was-
there.
it
It's
was- it was
pretty
big
wild
money.
place. Now, after that, right, is when I met you
Yep.
at the other road paving company.
Yep.
And you were more of like a estimator also there in project manager.
Yeah, so basically that big project, the Wayfair project, I call it, kind of ended. And it was like we were going back to doing, I mean, they do big, we were doing big jobs in high-end places, but it just wasn't that job. I kind of wanted to get more back into the heavier construction where I had interned. And so the company I interned at was not hiring at the time. So I actually went and worked for their competitor, which was a much smaller company, which, like you said, that's where we met. But I think I was only there for about 8 months, but I think the good that I took out of that was I was literally thrown to the fire to do everything. I was estimating, project manager, site super, layout guy, laboring sometimes, running a machine sometimes. So it was literally, I was getting everything thrown at me that I could at once. So I think that experience definitely helped me grow in the industry, definitely, and as a person for sure. But yeah, that didn't work out for reasons we don't need to discuss, but on this podcast right now. But
I'll say it because it sucked.
yeah,
I'll say it flat out. The owner of that company called me, a month ago? Nicest guy in the world. I would go hang out with him. I would love to go out to a party with him.
Yeah.
I think he would be hilarious in a bar.
No, same.
But I don't want to work for him.
Yeah.
The job itself sucks.
The work environment, my thing has always been the minute you get up and regret, like you don't want to go to work, it's time.
When you
to,
sit in
time
the
to make a
parking lot,
change.
when you sit in the parking lot and you are staring at the clock
Yeah,
and you're like, one more minute,
yeah,
that's not the job you want to be
No.
at. And I've had jobs where the second I pull in the parking lot, I've jumped out and ran in the shop and like, hey guys, that was not it for
Yeah.
me. You know?
No, and we've both have friends that still work there, like work there for longer that periods of time than us. And there's a bunch of great guys working there. It wasn't that. It's just the leadership, and it was just not necessarily a healthy in a productive environment. And for a young kid that wanted to grow with a company, it wasn't the spot for me.
For me, I just felt, like I said, I like the owner. I think he's hilarious, outside setting, but I think he's a micromanager.
Yeah.
And I've told him that, like him and I have gotten into arguments about stuff, and you know what I mean? Remember that job that you and I were on, and he all day long, it felt like we got nothing. And then I just remember we were backfilling that. Remember we had Sean laying fabric. And remember I was scooping out of the side of the truck because of the position we were in. I was balanced on the side. And you were just laughing because you're in charge, and you're like, Steve, we've got more done now than we did all day with him being here.
Yeah,
because he had left.
Mind you, that was at 5 o'clock we were doing that.
Yeah, 5 o'clock. We hammered it.
We stayed till like 8 o'clock and got, like you said, more work done than the whole day.
Yeah, because he was not helping us. But getting back to, I didn't want to pass by it. You were telling me about, like, when you went to college, that like your own mom was like upset that you wanted to go do your own thing. You know what I mean? Don't let me forget that. But where did you go from that company?
Yeah, so once I was done there, I went back and worked for the company I originally interned for. We talked about a large road construction company down here. So my role there was as a project manager and an estimator, bidding jobs anywhere from $500,000 to $15+ million.
You were in charge of my road.
Yep, I actually left a puddle right in front of your driveway, so you can thank me for that.
Yeah, highest paid taxes,
Well, yeah,
around the area.
I blame the town engineer for that one. That was our doing.
I blame him too. I have a lot of issues with the municipalities department and DPW in my town. Yep. I don't, you know what I mean? But that's something we can talk about. So yeah, most of that work is, like you said, municipality, state, some federal. Did a lot of work on the base, runways, FAA, stuff like that. So going kind of into what I'm doing now, more the residential, smaller commercial sites. It's funny. I always say everything's relative because it's, I'm working on a utility job, putting sewer pipe 20 feet down under every utility you can imagine in the roadway with one lane open. It's crazy. And you're like, oh man, I'd love to like be going to do a residential cellar hole. And then you get the job that you were helping me on, and you're like, okay, maybe this wasn't as easy as we thought, Yeah, well, the other thing...
It's different,
The other thing, too, is the company that you were working for, that you interned with, and then you went back to work with, that we're talking about now, I didn't work there with you, but when I had my hired semi there, that is a union company.
Correct.
That is not like the other companies. So... I remember a truck driver grabbing a shovel one time and the laborer ripping it out of his hand. Yeah. Because that's the laborers union. Yeah. Then there's the operators union. So.
And then there's even the Teamsters, some of their own trucks, they're in the Teamsters. So.
Well, I don't know how it works because they only have 2 drivers. And I think their drivers also are
so when I left,
operators too.
When I left there, they had 5 or 6 drivers, and they were all in the Teamsters union, and all they did was either run a truck with like a tag trailer making small moves, or they'd run a truck with mix, and they'd run the end dumps on bigger jobs like the rock trucks or the street sweeper, so that they kind of just shuffled.
So they are actually in the Teamsters.
Yes, they're in the Teamsters union.
Okay.
And I knew of a couple guys that actually left the laborers union and then went into the Teamsters to be the drivers.
So where I'm going with this is, you didn't get any machine time in any of those jobs, seat time.
So it's actually funny, and we can talk about it a little bit. When I was interning there, I was running machines all the time. I mean, as the owner of a company, you got a kid that can run a machine, has his hoisting license, that you're paying $18 an hour, versus a union guy you'd have to throw in a job for half a day, paying 4 times that. Right. So I actually, some of the people at the time, employees there, used to kind of get mad at me, like, this should be a union guy seat, which I get it. It's like you said, it's a union company, but the guy who's signing the check is telling me to be here. So,
but you were an intern at that point.
I was an intern, yeah.
So it's different. But when you went back and when I worked with you at the other road company, you were mostly
Mostly
layouts, office and layouts. Yeah. So
office, field superintendent type. I mean, I was always, everybody at that company kind of does it a little differently. Mm-hmm. My jobs, there's some guys that just bid jobs, project manager, sit in the office, run everything on the back end. I kind of like to
be in the field,
be the super, estimate the job, run the job, do the layout. I kind of like to do everything,
hands on.
This is where you get the most experience,
Yeah, not sitting. You don't get in the field experience.
I just sit. I'm sure you're the same way. Just can't sit in a cubicle for 8-10 hours a day and.
No, I don't even have a cubicle.
Run Excel spreadsheets. It's just I'd rather
don't even know how to turn the computer.
Go in the field and then do that stuff for a couple.
Bryson
hours
told me not to touch this.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So I was there for 3 years, full time, 2.5 years. Got a lot of experience there, and I kind of came to the point where, like I said, I'm 26. I'm not married, don't have kids. I figured, I always wanted to, that I know of exactly. Always wanted to do my own thing. I figured, starting a business is a risk. It's always going to be a risk. It's how are you going to mitigate that risk? And I think as far as the lowest risk possible, now is the time for me. And I mean, we can talk about, going into that.
Yeah, so
starting steps.
I think you had told me at one point that you had actually moved back home.
Yep.
In preparing for taking on, you financed your way into business.
Yeah. So we can talk a little bit about that. So I was living with a good friend of mine who's a firefighter. So we were kind of splitting a house. And he owned the house. I was just renting a room off him. And it got to the point where he wanted to renovate the house. So he kind of gave me, it was actually till, gave me a couple months to move out, saying that he wanted to, renovate it. And didn't really want to be living in it while he was doing it. So I kind of actually took that as an opportunity to, when I moved home, it's, I'm saving $800-900 a month. Maybe I can invest that into my business.
Right.
So that was definitely a significant factor. The other one, and I think you knew this, but I bought a skid steer probably like over a year ago, or about a year ago.
The 259.
The 259. So I had a skid steer while I was working for this large road construction company. And on the weekends, I'd go spread loam, do like hydro seed job, grade a driveway, similar stuff that you're doing. And I saw the money I was making that was 4 times my weekly paycheck for half a day's of work. So that was part of it too,
I think that's a big part of it. That's what gets a lot of people.
Yeah.
I was doing the same thing when I was 23.
Mm-hmm.
I had bought a brand new machine, same situation as you, brand new, financed my way into it. And it was just like you said. I was doing little jobs on the side, saw all the money, and it was great. But I never actually had any intention of going to work for myself.
Yeah.
I loved where I was at.
Yeah.
I just
no, and I was. I mean, I can't say I never had the intention. It was always in the back of my brain. But when I bought that machine at the time, I was kind of like, I think I told you I rented it out to my buddy while I was working, so it was making money during the day while I'm working. Like it was. I just get a paycheck at the end of the week on top of my paycheck. It was great. It was just extra money. But the living situation, I started, the real thing is that job that you helped me on. I bid that job while I was doing stuff part-time on the weekends, thinking no way I was going to get it. And I ended up being the low bidder on it and getting that project. So that's what really kind of...
Mind you weren't the low bidder by much.
No, we're talking $500, $1,000.
Yeah. So, and you were bidding against one of the bigger companies around here, so you were right where you needed to be, and it's because you have a background of bidding on jobs. Yeah,
definitely. I think, definitely not the best operator. Don't know anything by any means, everything by any means, I know enough, but estimating is one thing I've just always been confident about. And if you want to kind of talk about how I approach estimating, be interested in doing that, or we can wait till later. But
hold that thought, because what so you got that job and then you bought the machine.
Correct.
So you did make sure you had something lined up before you went and bought a 200 and, I mean, how much does that thing cost?
About 240.
240.
And I know most people would probably say that I'm crazy for doing that, and I know you get a lot of questions about it. How did I do it? And it's finance, you know. I mean, you put a little money down, Cat's offering low, and it's part of the reason I have Cat. I mean, Cat will literally give a machine to anybody. They just, as our dealer especially, they just want to push them out, push the machines out.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knows they make all their money on service and parts. They don't make a ton of money selling a machine.
Yeah.
So I was able to get the skid steer. I mean, I put a good chunk of money down on the skid steer, but the excavator, the 317, I didn't put a ton of money down. It was like a 6-month lead time, I think, for the machine. Maybe like 4-month lead time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had gotten this job kind of lined up and on the books. I was actually anticipating renting a machine because I didn't think mine was going to be there in time. And yeah, I mean, I think that job was just kind of what kicked me out the door, so to speak, to get it going. And a lot of people would say, you know, it's a lot of, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's about $5,500 a month between both machines.
Right.
So it's a big nut to meet, but I personally look at it. I mean, you got to know your numbers, and we can talk about it with estimating. That's huge. You can't go by what other people are charging, because you know what you need to make a month. I break it down. I know what I need to make an hour, you know.
Well, like Randall always says, what are your numbers? Don't worry about the other guys. He said it to me again this morning. We were talking about something.
Exactly.
Something random in not even my business. He was talking about something else with a carpenter or something.
No, and I saw a post on our local Cape Cod landscapers Facebook page today, and I was actually going to bring it up because it was funny, and I guess I will now, but somebody was like, you know, with equipment rising, fuel rising, you guys are bringing up your rates. What are you going to charge for an hourly per man rate? And I saw some guy comment, you know, just take, he listed the 3 big companies, just take what they're charging and knock off $5 an hour and charge that. I'm like, but you got to know your number. Like those huge companies, and I won't name drop them, but they know their numbers. Like what, you know, just because they're a big company and you think they're a little more expensive, sometimes they're cheaper.
Well, here's the thing. People don't understand, like, every single situation is completely different. You could say, oh, it's a big company if they have to charge more. But I look at it like, okay, that's a big company. They could come in here and just blow this out.
Yeah,
and it's like
they're trying to do it in volume.
Yeah, you know, it's to you and me, it's a tumor. To them, it's a pimple. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly.
They're just like, whatever.
Exactly.
Case in point, that job around the corner, Nick. Mm-hmm. Okay? You, at one point, something was up with him. I don't know. The homeowner, I think the homeowner was bullshitting everybody.
Yeah.
I think the homeowner was probably...
It's probably a price check for me to keep him honest.
Yeah. And who knows?
It happens.
Who knows? You know what I mean? But, like, how long do you think it would have taken you to that job? Because Nick, who has a big company, had that blown out, like, the next week.
Yeah.
Like, you know, stumped and grubbed. Yeah. I went by there. He had his D61, and it was just blown out. Mm-hmm. So he could have did it a little cheaper than you because he literally stuck one dude over there, some young kid, and just like was like, here, go have fun. Play.
Has his own material yard. You can take the stumps. He can bring in the fill. He can, you know what I mean? That's a different ballgame than I'm in. So yeah, that's definitely a factor in pricing the job. But
it comes back to what are your numbers? So like what works for you?
Exactly.
So like he could do that for.
There's always going to be somebody that'll do it cheaper.
Well, they could do it cheaper and still profit more than you.
Definitely.
Or you could have somebody that is ass backwards finance-wise, and they could make more, you know? Yeah. Like I remember one time, somebody I know took a job from me because they were the boyfriend of the homeowner's daughter or whatever it was. Yeah. And they were like, oh, I just want to give it to him. Mm-hmm. I'm like, there's more money. And they gave it to him anyways, right?
Yeah. No, that happens.
He got more money, but then when I talked to him, I met him a couple years later. This is a long time ago. I met him a couple years later, and I asked him what he made off that job and what his numbers. He profited less than me.
Mm-hmm. So, no, and I'm sure you know there's plenty of guys, especially this time of year in the winter in the Northeast, that I'll take jobs for cost just to keep the bill, get the bills paid.
Yeah.
And keep their guys on from laying off their jobs. I know plenty of companies that do that. So it's different circumstances.
It used to
which
be
is
around here that everyone, this drives me nuts. I just want to say this real quick. When I was growing up, guys would get laid off in the winter, and you'd like go on vacation, spend time with your family, then you'd come back. But it seems like a lot of these company owners cannot afford to actually shut down anymore like they used to.
Yeah.
They've like everything. You look at that road we talk about down Cape, that famous road where all the same companies are all seem like they're keeping up with the Jones next door.
Yeah.
And everybody has all brand new stuff. And not only is it brand new stuff, the first thing they do when they get it is they take the stacks off. They put chrome stacks on. They pay a big money to have it lettered, pinstriped, all this stuff. I mean, I heard a story of someone lettering a semi-dump trailer and pinstriping it, and it costing $28,000. And then you see their trucks.
I know somebody who just spent $15,000 pinstriping an F550 utility body. It's like, I mean, I'm not in the position to do that. If you are, great. And I mean, nice, clean trucks, say something. Speak numbers. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
But if you're doing like town municipal work, where you're not advertising, it's the lowest bidder. I mean, it's
so I have a nice looking truck, I think. Right?
Beautiful truck.
Okay, but here's the thing: that thing's been paid for. I don't know how many times over.
Yeah,
Since I bought it in 2010.
and it's also your baby. You don't have 5 of them.
No,
6 of them.
I don't.
You know?
These guys that are pinstriping fleets,
Yeah,
and then,
it's one thing if it's your daily, and you know what I mean.
But the thing that cracks me up about it is like, and then they get into like a slow period, and then they're sending guys home.
Yeah,
In the middle of the day, it's like, why don't you just lay them off so they can sign up for seasonal layoff instead of stringing them along a few hours here, a few hours there? It's, you know what I mean? And I worked for Nick. The first year I worked for Nick done, Nick will buy a truck, he'll put his name on it. That's it. Like basic lettering, like it's not.
yeah.
And then like,
Oh, it's there to make money at the end of the day, right?
the first winter here, I worked for him. He ran out of work, right? But I was in the shop getting a full day's work every day. And he's like, just find something to do, whatever. Because like he understands, like, okay, like I hired you. My responsibility is 40 hours or plus, whatever.
And it's so hard to find people. You don't want to lose those guys. That's where it goes back to guys. Like I said, I know guys that take jobs for literally costs just to
So
keep guys going.
speaking of cost in that aspect, you had like a bit of a rough start though. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I basically worked my first 2 months in business for free, to be blunt. I worked for a friend of mine who I guess an industry friend,
Yeah.
and a couple of them. It wasn't just one job; it was a few jobs. And I think being naive going into to business, I've heard people say a million times, "There's no friends in business. You got to keep business
What
at
do
the
I
end of
always
the
say
day."
to you?
What do you-
There's no friends in show business.
Yeah.
They call it friends business.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I did a couple jobs for some people, and I actually still haven't been paid for most of it. So, my first month, I think, was actually very profitable. But the next 2, those profits were kind of paying for the stuff I didn't get paid for. So it's definitely a learning curve.
And you were paying for trucking also. So it's not like you just went and did this job with your machine and didn't get paid. You went and did this job, paid a local guy here to do a bunch of trucking.
Which great guy, very reasonable.
Oh, he's awesome.
Nothing bad
He's
to say
awesome.
about them at all.
But he's not going to not send you the bill for that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to not pay him. My thing is come take my machines. If I can't afford to pay him, I'm going to pay the guys I owe money to. It's those local connections, as you know, like those are the people you need when you're in a bind. You don't want to, it's such a small place where we're from. You don't want to be known as the guy that doesn't pay people or is late paying people.
Right.
And I was like, great, my first month in business, like this is going to happen to me. So I literally bent, heaven and earth to scratch by, and luckily, knock on wood, the past month or so, some good work's come in and allowed me to kind of catch up to it. But yeah, I mean, we're
So you're doing really good now, right? We've talked about that. Financially, you're doing good now.
Yeah.
The other thing is too is you're starting to do like I said, right, and get deposits.
Yeah. Like I said, on a normal person I didn't know, or a builder we're working for, it's down here, people either do a third, or a third. I do 50-50.
But that particular person,
yeah, it was more of like, and like they're renting me and my machine to like move dirt for them or do something.
Yeah, you're like a sub.
So it's like you don't really know what you're you can have an estimate you're going to be here for X amount of days. So yeah, it was hard for me kind of to get a deposit for something like that, and it being people that I knew and trusted.
Yeah,
figured I didn't have to, but yeah, I'm paying for it. I mean, I'm still owed a significant amount of money.
We're talking,
we're talking like, I mean, I don't know, not everything's relative, but to me, we're talking like $35K, which to me, my first 2 months in business is for a one-man band.
I just want to tell you, like, explain to them, like, these are the kind of numbers in the industry that we're in.
Yeah.
That you're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's not I'm owed $300 or I'm owed $400.
No.
It's large numbers.
Yeah.
Is where I was going with that. And
it's like I had, I started my business. I had a little bit saved up, obviously, and like I said, that first month was fairly profitable for me. I mean, I'll go out and say it. I did $45K in revenue my first month, and I made no, it was less than that. I made like I think $39K my first month, and my profit after everything was paid was $19K.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good profit for your first month, and I'm like, oh great, like if this is how things are gonna go, like I made the right decision. But then it's, but
then a couple months of paying trucking.
Oh yeah.
And paying your machine payments and everything, and thinking you're gonna get paid. And mind you, these people had things happen to them.
Yeah.
Okay. They weren't out to purposely screw.
No, it was not. I don't think it was necessarily malicious. No, I think it was more of.
And they have made payments.
I know James. Like, I think part of the thing too is like people are like, oh, he's a young kid. He doesn't have a house. He doesn't have a family. Like he can afford to like. But no, we all got bills to pay, man. It's and it's like luckily my overhead machine wise is a lot. Like it's significant, but it's just me. I had you help me out a couple days, and I have another guy that helps me out, but it's not like I have that $13,000 a week payroll that some guys have with 5 guys working for them. So luckily I didn't get paid for my time, unfortunately, and the profit wise, like everything's been paid off for, thankfully, and able to scoop by that. But my whole thing in business is like I'm glad that happened to me early, and when I was talking about starting my own business, I thought about these things. Of course, everybody thinks about it. And, people like we talked about are like, oh, I can't believe you bought a new machine. And I'm like, I know what I need to make a day to pay off for this machine. Yeah. I don't care if I need to, like my machine right now, I'm actually doing a couple of smaller jobs. So I have a smaller machine rented, but my bigger machine I have out being rented, like at a stump dump, like screening loam. It's like, I'll go and knock on every door in the neighborhood to get work for that machine. Like, I'm not afraid to do that. And I think that's kind of what separates people who start businesses versus don't. I mean, you have to take a risk. You can play it safe and get that constant paycheck working for somebody else, but in business there's good times, there's bad times.
But you see, here's the thing I always kind of felt about. So I, my situation's a little weird. I actually got sick from stress. I don't want to go into it again because I'm like a broken record, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's like a little insecure thing I have where I think people are like, oh, look at this guy, he just stays small. And it's like, well, I'm terrified of having a fucking heart attack.
Yeah.
Sorry about the language, but I don't want to get sick again. It was miserable, that period of my life. So I just kind of keep it where I'm at. But people don't understand, like, you went into it, and I remember talking to you, and you're like, I know to get into business, I'm not going to make shit my first year. You told me that.
To be honest, probably I'm not expecting to make money the first couple of years. I mean, like I said, I told you since day one, I think, if I can go through this whole year, pay everything off, and have a couple grand in my pocket,
I think I was going somewhere with that.
that'd be a
and
success
just
to me.
totally
Oh,
lost
sorry, I
that.
cut you off.
No. I have ADHD. So I have 4 different conversations in my head and the conversation
That we're
I'm having
having.
with you.
Yeah.
There's 3 other things. I'm thinking about the blue of that. Like, should we have cut? You know what I mean?
Color
So
of it, yeah.
that's why my thought process is just like, there's too much going on. But I was going somewhere with that. Like, everyone's situation's different. So like my situation's different. But when I was your age and first doing the first business I had, like you said, I like literally like knocked on doors, like
Yeah, you're young, you're hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would drive past a pile of dirt in someone's yard, slam the brakes on, throw it in reverse, and go hand them a card.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is those days for me are over.
Yeah.
So your days of doing whatever you have to do now, of like, you know, like you said, you're renting your machine out to your buddy's stump dump to pay for it while you're doing other stuff with the small machines. There's going to be a time where someone's going to say, hey, can I rent your machine? You're going to go, nah.
Yeah.
I mean, I took the winter off. I haven't worked in what?
Yeah. No, you've just been helping me out here and there, doing
Like
small
2
stuff.
months, three months.
Yeah.
Dude, my machine's just sitting. You know what I mean? And someday, that's gonna be you. Like, hey, you want to come out and do this? And you're like, nah.
No, and I think we've talked about it. Even when I first started, I'm kind of getting to the point where, you know, you're taking on everything. Like, I'm doing small landscape construction jobs, kind of what you're kind of focused on. I'll go like take down trees, like anything to get money going. And I'm finally like starting to realize, like, you know, a few months in, that you kind of want to narrow your focus. I mean, not necessarily turn work down, but if you kind of spread yourself out too much, it's...
Well, what I've been doing lately is I have a lot of requests for additions, addition digs. Now, for me, it's digging holes. It's my background.
Yeah.
Okay, I used to dig holes large. I worked at the first company I worked at. They did a lot of commercial site work. Like, we tore down supermarkets and redid stuff like that. We did like the FedEx distribution center.
Oh, well.
We had tractor trailers in the building dumping fully loaded semis, trailers, dumps.
Wow.
In the building, you know, and dozers running everywhere and everything.
Yeah.
But for me, that was at a time where you could grow significantly here.
Yeah, there's a building boom. That's
there was a huge building
starting
boom.
to fade off a little bit down here.
Yeah.
I mean, we're lucky enough that there's a lot of, you know, it's a summer place. There's a lot of people with a lot of money that come here.
So for me, I think with my situation and my way of looking at it is I would pretty much have a heart attack or stroke actually trying to get my business to where my old company was at, or that position. Like, I've accepted the fact that I physically like can't do that. I would have a heart attack.
No, and like I said, I've been on both sides of it. I've seen it. You know, it gets to a point when you get that big. I call it feeding the beast. I think we've talked about this all the time. It's, you know, you got to just keep that work flowing and all the time bid everything.
Yep.
You know, and it's get more trucks, get more crews.
Right. So what I've found is like, so when the economy tanked, you know, and I was taking every job I could. I even started like a lawn mowing crew.
Yeah, you're doing whatever you can to get by and make money.
Yeah, that's not my background.
Yeah.
But like what I do now is I just take small excavation jobs.
Yeah.
I'm not even doing...
Where it's jobs with you, your machine, your truck, you know, your profit's really high.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
said,
I'm
all
not
your stuff's
even...
paid for. You're not spending a gazillion dollars on materials.
Nope.
You're going in probably... Your biggest job's probably, couple days max. It's like, you know, you're in and out in a day.
The biggest job I had this past year was like 3 days.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're in and out.
Mind you, here's the thing. That's 3 lazy days.
Yeah.
Okay? That's getting there at 9.
Yeah. 2-hour lunch.
You know, breakfast. It's me and my son.
Yeah.
You know, we're down at, you know, getting the sub. Then I'm like, and then it gets hot, and then we leave, early.
Yeah.
So, that's 3 lazy days are not the same as when I worked at the construction company.
No, where it's 6:30 production.
Yeah.
But that's part of the thing I like working for myself too, as I'm sure you do, is like not having necessarily. I mean, you always have a pressure for production and moving on to the next job. I mean, we've talked about it, but at least you're not like a number trying to push a job along.
It's not even that. It's the freedom of, here's the thing, right? I remember doing a job one time, you can see them from the highway, those big condo complexes by Exit 7, the old Exit 7.
Yeah, off Mary Dunn Road there.
Yeah. All those big buildings, there's ABC, there's low-income housing apartment buildings. I remember I was at that company when they started that. We did I don't even know. I was there for like weeks with the dozer doing cuts and fills.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
And
then you had to roll it as you were filming it. So I would jump off the dozer onto the roller. I'd park the roller next to it.
Yeah.
There's an old open cab roller. And just jump back and forth for like two weeks. You know what I mean? Just, But I remember one day it was raining out, and I called up and I'm like, hey man, and I was slinging a skid steer into the foundation, and I had guys down in there, and I'm in, I don't know, some big cat excavator, and we had a sling, and we were lowering the skid steer down in there, and it's like these guys are like trying to hook stuff up when we're trying to hook it up, and it's pouring out. And it's like, chains are popping off, whatever. The rubber track's all wet on the skid steer. And then we were hooking, because the sling that they had, you put the machine on it.
Oh, wow.
Like you would drive it on these beams, and then it was like spreader bars. It was actually really nice. But like when you're trying to like push things under rubber tracks, and it's hard to
No, I get it.
It's hard to explain. And then we get the thing in there, and I'm slinging dirt over the hole and everything, and the dude's like, yo, it's not like the compactor fell over again in the mud, like tipped over in the mud.
Yeah.
So I call him and I'm like, hey, can we just call it a day? And my boss at the time was like, what are you talking about? No, get it done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, it's pouring out, we can't. I just remember I was like, I don't understand. Like, are you trying to tell me? I fail to understand. Are you trying to tell me that it's too wet for you to achieve compaction? And I'm like, no, dude, I'm telling you, everyone's miserable, and I can't achieve getting them to want to work.
Yeah.
And he's like, too bad.
Yeah.
But when you work for yourself, you can be like, this is stupid. I'm coming back tomorrow.
Yeah. See you later. Yeah. No, having that freedom, or if a family thing comes up or whatever, you want to go do something one day, you want to take the winter off, it's like you have those opportunities,
I probably...
It's stressful. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not stressful.
Well, I probably won't take the winter off ever again, because for somebody who's worked every winter their entire life, last year I took part of it off, and this year I took the entire winter off. And it's just, I'm bored.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Well, if you want to come run a machine any day, let me know.
Nah. Man, I go bowling.
Yeah.
But, I think it's funny is like, you were telling me your mom...
Yeah, back to the college thing.
Didn't want you to do this.
Yeah. So my parents have been amazing, put me through school, unbelievable, very supportive. My mom is a nurse at a big hospital in Boston, went to college. I think she saw me more in like a white collar job type of thing. I went to private school my whole life.
Did you?
Stuff like that. But
that's cute.
So I think she always wanted me to work for like a big name company, and I think just in general, like this industry is...
But what's bigger than having your own name on the company?
No, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And I think this industry and the trades in general are belittled. Blue collar jobs are kind of belittled a lot, which I definitely don't understand. I can't comprehend.
Well,
but because you and I both know, and there's plenty of guys down here that make millions.
Oh yeah,
doing what we do.
Well, here's a phrase I always hated: it's dumb truck driver.
Yeah.
How many truck drivers do you and I know that are like extremely intelligent?
Yeah.
But they're smart enough to know if I get my CDL, I don't have to be in the hole when it's raining out again.
Yeah.
Okay? People always ask me, why do you like driving the truck? When I was like, I'm like, because when shit hits the fan, guess who gets to leave?
Yeah.
Hey, is my truck loaded? Okay, it's raining out. Okay,
Yeah,
everybody's yelling. Bye.
Yeah.
Truck drivers are smart.
Yeah.
They're not stupid.
No.
But you get that stigma
Yeah.
of, ooh, dumb truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that, And then it's like, oh, the labor. How many laborers do you know that have like sweet houses and homes and vehicles and benefits packages that are insane, right? Yeah. And then like how many of your college friends you go out with and they're like, hey, I can't, oh crap.
Yeah.
They can't pay the tab when you're out drinking.
Yeah.
The bar.
Plenty. But, same thing. It's like, you go out with your college friends and everybody's like, oh, I work for this investment company. I work for, X, Y, and Z company. I work for Apple. Like, I've never really cared about that prestige. But it's like, oh, yeah, I own my own construction company, putting in septics and stuff. It's like kind of looked down on. And
you do want certain people, like, I'm not talking bad about college because I heard someone say one time, I definitely want my doctor to go to school.
Yeah.
So there's definitely school for everything, but I have a friend who had an insane amount of college debt, came out of school, couldn't find a job in his weird profession that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
That sounded all cool and professional and everything. Mm-hmm. And he's been swinging a sledgehammer for the labor's union in Boston.
Yeah.
And has paid off all of his college debt with his labor's job.
Yep.
So...
No, I know, COVID, especially when I was graduating school, I think I graduated in 2018, so a little bit before COVID, but a lot of my friends had, in the marketing advertising had got their dream jobs working for huge sports teams, working for like Google, like all these crazy big companies. And when COVID hit and the money was gone, the first people they lay off is the marketing and advertising department. It's like stuff that's not necessarily quote unquote essential. Or people who worked for an advertising agency where it's like people cut their marketing budget. So,
and I know that I made a.
So I know kids that lost their dream jobs that had been there for like a year that are doing something completely different. So
which is crazy because
it's one thing about this industry is you're always going to need infrastructure, utilities, and when the economy tanks, they do infrastructure bills, vast utility, it's more on the public work side, which is end goal, what I'm really trying to get into. But that work's always there. People are
you look at like
always going to need plumbers, electricians.
I was out with a friend today, right? He was sneaking a septic system with his camera. Mm-hmm. Turd don't stop.
Yeah, not the most glorious job in the world, but
you get used to it.
I can bet you he made probably a lot more money today than a lot of people I know sitting in a cubicle.
He does septic inspections, and he's fully licensed. Like, he was telling me all the stuff he does and equipment he has for cameras that he struggled to pay for in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But now he was telling me his numbers, and I'm like, damn. Yeah. I kind of wish I thought of that.
Not knocking white collar jobs at all. Some of my best friends are in it. Like, it just wasn't really, like we talked about in the beginning, I just couldn't sit in a cubicle from 9 to 5.
They're not for everybody.
Yeah.
And the only reason why we mention what we mention is because it's not to knock theirs. We don't want people knocking construction.
Yeah.
Like, don't look at construction or...
And who knows, we could do this podcast 6 years from now, and I could be at a cubicle desk working 9 to 5.
I don't even think this is a podcast.
Yeah.
This is just like a Steve cast.
Yeah.
It's just a YouTube video, I guess.
But that's
like, I have no plans on getting it on any streaming service or anything like that, like a professional podcast.
Well, I think it's great, though, to have people
maybe
come
someday,
and talk
I don't know.
shop.
But as of right now, I just got a little YouTube channel. And, with a few subscribers I love talking to. Mm-hmm. But the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is, speaking of YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. What drives me nuts.
I do. We talk about it all the time.
I have some...
It's the negative Nancy's in the comments.
Now, here's the thing. My regular people that comment all the time, they're not like that. Like I talk with them and everything, but every now and
They're
then,
good subscribers, and most of those people are fly-by-nighters, seeing cat in the title, whatever. And just...
every now and then I get a drive-by who's not subscribed, won't subscribe to me. They just have to pop in, say something nasty.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, actually not even, almost 100% of the time, and when I answer them back, they don't say anything.
Yeah.
They're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
And I got some dirt. Not dirt, but I got some shit thrown at me for that kid that we had in the Mini.
Yep.
And I had said on that job where we tore down the house, and we were cleaning it up. Now, mind you, one of the comments that drove me nuts was somebody said to me, I don't know how you guys are making any profit. And, and I was kind of pissed because it's like, how much you think that total job's like $1 million job in the end by the time they build the house, everything?
I mean, we can talk about it right now, but I'll break it down for you right now.
There's my dog. He can be in the channel. He's usually in it. Come here.
Your average site package for a...
No, go away. Go. I was going to tell him.
the camera.
I want him to come this way, not through the camera.
So, average, based on some of the bigger companies down here, from what I've seen industry-wise, your average price usually for a demo for where we're from is about $10,000 for every 1,000 square feet. Is kind of the sweet spot, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, different variables between, we were dealing with.
That was the job that you outbid the big company by like
$500 on the demo.
Yeah, so you're where you need.
So we were at it was like an 1,800 square foot house is what it was. And I was about in it for $22,000 to demo. So after all so everybody that saw that disaster and that mess, after all material was disposed of, trucking, labor, paying you to help me out, getting all the machines there, fuel.
You did pay me because guess what? There's no friends in business, right?
Yep. So I had, I think I want to say, $6,500 in profit for 2 days of work.
For 2 days of work.
I mean, that's...
So some guy said...
From a guy who estimates, it's a home run.
Yeah. Now that's...
Down here, and being and only losing the job by 500,
them
beating the guy,
it.
them losing it, but being that tight on the numbers, like that's a home run. So that whole mess, that whole disaster.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't think I'm good at explaining things. I think my conversations and my mouth can't keep up with my brain. So bits and pieces gets cut off. Mm-hmm. I'll start a sentence, right? My brain's already 3 paragraphs ahead. So my mouth can't keep up, so it just skips a whole segment and then goes right to the next. That's how my thing works. So I think in that video, I don't think I explained it or did you any... I don't think I did you any justice in that, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas I said, oh my God, this is a mess. This is the messiest demo I've been on. I didn't mean that the way some people took it, like you did a messy job. What I meant in that is it's like driving through the mud. Like, oh my God, this mud is messy. Mm-hmm. You're not doing a bad job driving. The mud is messy.
Yeah.
Okay?
The work environment.
Environment. You have blown insulation, styrofoam insulation, regular R, whatever, the pink R, whatever insulation. We had how many different layers of floor? Some floor dirt, some floor dirt with a vapor barrier, some was just plain sand. Mm-hmm. Then multiple levels. Then you had old brick. Then you had cinder block. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then you had a poured concrete
on
wall.
no footing. The blocks weren't filled with concrete.
Yeah, no footing. Then there was a footing. Then there was a floor. Then there was a floor that was thinner than the other floor. It was at a different pour thickness than everything, and. It's hard to see on camera. The wind was blowing.
Yeah.
So it's
basically a first job for me. It was not definitely the easiest demo in the world.
No, and another thing that ticked me off is somebody had said in the comment, stop whining and blaming it on the new guy. Well, first of all, he was not a new guy. He was just a friend of yours that showed up to help you out and had never been in a machine in his life.
Yep.
And I had said in the video, you know, if he wants some pointers, we'll give it to him. If he doesn't, whatever. But this is the perfect job for him to learn on.
Yeah.
And one person said something really nasty. I forget what it was, but I actually deleted the comment. But it was about dirt, like in with the demo. It's like, I'm like, yeah, well, the kid pushed dirt in with the demo and he knocked over that corner of the wall with the mini. And it's like,
we had a couple laborers showed up
so
and it was
what?
cleaned up in a half hour, an hour.
Yeah.
And it's like we talked a little bit on the phone before I came over here, but, as far as experience, I rather hire somebody, a young guy, who has all the, has motivation, desire to learn, operate, than necessarily hire the guy that has 40 years experience that thinks he knows everything. I mean, I definitely don't know everything. I'm learning something new every day, but
that dude that lives in Shirley, Mass, that used to work with us.
Yes. Who, young guys come in and he's like, what are you doing here? Like, you don't know what you're doing. Like,
and he's terrible.
I'd rather, because I've had those people that have helped me learn stuff and it's got me to where I am today. It's like, and we were talking about in high school, there was a very large construction company down here, huge, millions and millions of dollars worth of work a year. Not the company that I worked for. Utility work, large site work, you know who I'm talking about. But in high school, I went to apply there. I cold called the office, and I said, "Hey, I'll do anything. I'll shovel all day. I'll sit and shadow an estimator." I was like, "You don't even need to pay me. I'll do it as an internship. I just wanted to learn, get seat time, get experience." And they said, "Oh no, we're not really looking to hire anybody that doesn't have any experience right now."
Well, see, which is crazy because, so my company that when I got out of high school is responsible for, I always say, taking a dump, and out came a bunch of other construction companies. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? When the economy tanked, they were just like...
Yeah, guys went and started their own thing.
And the reason for that is because all those guys started there at that company young.
Knowing nothing,
and they gave everyone a chance.
Yep.
And now we have all these guys. I mean, looking back on it, it'd probably be good for me now and you now if they didn't do that, because we would have less competition. Yeah. But they actually always had employees. Mm-hmm. They always... I remember my old boss, like, opening up a file cabinet for some guy. I just happened to be in the room, and some dude was complaining, and he was like, "See this here? Every day I get another application. People want to work here.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to do it," and then he slams the door, the drawer, and says, "One of those guys will do it."
And I get it. We talked about it. Like these larger companies that are about production and, some of these, working in the road, like you can't throw a kid in a machine that doesn't have any idea what he's doing. I get that. But jobs like we talked about where the house is on the ground, all the utilities are disconnected. Like me having that kid there, what could have, he scratches the machine or like what could have went. It's the perfect learning environment for him to get some seat time. And he made a little bit of a mess.
But what aggravated me about the whole thing of it is, and I guess this is just like me not liking negative comments, is did you not actually listen or pay attention to what I said?
Yeah.
I said this kid, I asked him, "What's your experience?" He said nothing. Mm-hmm. I have
my first
zero.
day in the excavator.
This is my first day ever being an excavator. And I said, if you are looking for any pointers, let me know, whatever. Yeah. But like you said, it's a house you're tearing down. What are you afraid he's going to bump into the house?
It's on the ground. No, exactly. And we talked about it, the guy who's leaving that negative comment. What's his concern about him making a mess? Is he paying the bill all of a sudden? I mean, if he wants to, I'll send him the invoice to pay for that hour that it took to clean it up. But how is it affecting his...
It's weird,
his day-to-day life? It's not.
How is it?
And I get it. There's plenty. I watch YouTube and I'm like, we were talking about titling the videos. It's nice to go, like, sometimes when you have a rough day, go watch somebody else have another rough day. But
we weren't. You were laughing in the video.
But to comment and belittle somebody when you know they were already, like...
I think my pizza's here, but whatever. She can. My wife is great. She'll grab that. But I ordered us a pizza.
I just think you can't let the bad stuff get to you.
No,
there's always going to be those naysayers.
No, I just wanted to address that because there was one comment, I forget what it was. Nah, it's cool. You can grab the pizza. Thank you. Love you. She's giving me the finger. She means I'm number one here.
Yeah.
That's what that means. But my thing of it is like,
yeah, we can go on. A lot of those videos that was the same job. So any of those. You see the Cat 317 on that big site that we're doing the demo, the cellar hole where it was collapsing in the sand. That's all the same job. That's that first job I bid and won that literally started my company. So this work was completed months ago. The videos are just starting to come out. The walls are formed and poured. Like it's actually ready for backfill coming up shortly here. Mm-hmm. I'm okay right now, but if you want to slice,
I don't care. It's my show. I got pepperoni, dude.
But it was nice to be able to make those.
Tell me about the sand, because people don't know about where we live.
Yeah, so we literally live on a sand dune.
Who eats pizza on their podcast show?
I think you talked about it. We got on the north side of where we're from. There's some rocks, some glacier pass, stuff like that, where it gets a little like clay and a little worse. But most of where we're from on Cape Cod is sand. So this house, I think I mentioned, I tore down, it was 1,800 square feet. Mm-hmm. The new house they're building is 4,000 square feet on a lot that was made for an 1,800 square foot house. And you're digging a 10-foot basement, because he wants a golf simulator in the basement, in dead sand. 3 feet off the property line.
So we finally figured out why the big basement. Yes. Remember we were questioning that?
Yeah.
That's another thing, too, is people don't understand. We have all the same questions that viewers have, right? Mm-hmm. But what people don't understand when you go do a job, right? You're working for a builder or a customer. You don't get to call the shots. Like,
no, you
you're
get a stamped, but you're not. You get a stamped, engineered plan that was approved by the building commissioner. Mm-hmm. That needs to be done to a T, unless you get approval from the town to do something different. Otherwise, you're not going to pass any of the inspections. So going into that job, I got to admit, maybe I estimated it. You get the plan set, you go out and look at the site, I see the house, and I'm not thinking it's going to be dead beach sand for 10 feet. Honestly, I figured the water would have been where we were next to the water, would have been up way higher water table wise, and I'm surprised we even were able to get so low. But as a building inspector, commissioner, as an engineer, they go out, do test holes. They know what's going on. Mm-hmm. They have hundreds of houses in that neighborhood, that area that they've done for years. They know what the conditions are like. So I think for them to approve a job like that off a 3-foot property line, I think you mentioned it in the video. It's, in a perfect world, if it was a commercial site or something, or a very large residential site, you'd go in and you'd sheet pile the whole thing, drive it in with a crane, and then pull it out when you're done. But who's going to spend for a residential house $100,000 plus to do that?
And that's not your call.
It isn't at all. No, I'm hired by the builder to do what it says to do on this plan.
Until
I get
someone
called.
Complained to the town.
Yep.
The inspector, who had already been there multiple times and approved the job. Yep. Originally, he signed off on the permit to start it. Mm-hmm. When he came back, then he said, there's a problem because someone's complaining.
Yeah, the neighbor's yard started caving in.
Right.
And the problem was anybody who's in excavation can attest to this. When you're digging a cellar hole.
You sure you don't want these?
No, I'm good right now. Thank you, though. But when you're digging a cellar hole, I'm saying the edge of foundation is 3 feet off the property line. You want to give ideally the form guys at least 6 feet off the edge of the footing, not the wall. So you're already in their property line. I saw, we talked about it, people in the comments saying, why didn't you shore it? Why didn't you step it back?
Why didn't you bench it?
Oh, yeah, because to properly shore, that slope at 10 feet deep, we would have been in the neighbor's kitchen.
Well, when was the last time you benched sand?
Yeah. You don't.
You don't.
You slope it.
End of story. You just don't.
I slope it as far, if you have the room, you slope it.
So,
or you do the sheet piles, or you build a temporary wall, which is what, we didn't get a video of it, but what happening was the concrete guy didn't have enough space, so I ended up having to go in there and I built a temporary retaining wall out of bin blocks.
Right.
Which worked perfect, worked good for
But
everything, and made people happy.
didn't the town building department come out and say you need to do something now? No. So it was the
It was
Forms
actually
guys
no. I actually basically
told the builder.
was on me. I told the builder and the town guy what we were going to do and how we were going to make this work.
So you basically said enough is enough.
Yeah.
To the builder.
And went in and
Because
and the town inspector was actually like, "Well, that's a great idea. Like, I think that's the only way we can do it." And he was happy about it.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's I get where the neighbor's coming from. I'd be frustrated if my backyard was caving in. Not that it's not going to all get fixed at the end, but it's it's an inconvenience. And obviously, a hazard. I mean, people can look at the video and see what we're talking about. It's pretty, significant grade difference between their property grade of their
But basically,
property down,
until it was a problem, you couldn't just tell that builder because in the video, remember, I'm like, oh, I told James, he needs to tell this builder. I don't know how you're going to do. Remember, I was worried about the garage next door.
Yeah.
Which was funny because we were originally worried about the garage. And it ended up being the garage wasn't that bad. It ended up being the other side of the property.
Yeah, the side that had an existing retaining wall, but the problem was we were so deep it was undermined. And it just was, a cinder block wall.
Behind the
no
fence,
footing.
there's 2 retaining walls behind that fence.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit of a shelf, a little ledge in front of the fence, remember? You can see it in the video. There's a little bit. But people
I don't know if that's there anymore, but...
Oh, I'm sure it's not there anymore. But what I'm saying is...
Oh, and not to mention, I don't think you were there for me on the last day, but you helped the videos for a lot of the dig. But that hole was good set, and they went through 3 different concrete companies. So it sat for a month in the middle of January. Rain, snow,
Storms.
Wind.
Yeah.
So it's beach sand, constantly eroding, get the footing in there, form, rebar. I mean, you're talking a month's worth of work, so that definitely was a significant, problem as well. So, but knock on wood, we got it ironed out. It should be in there to backfill in the next week or 2 once they're stripped and ready to go.
But you did call. I remember the builder showing up in the video. I'm like, oh, here's the builder. So it's not like you.
No.
People don't understand when you do these jobs. You're fighting with.
It's the excavation business. You can't predict what's under the ground.
It's not even that, but my experience is you're always fighting with a builder who doesn't want to pay extra for steps.
Yeah. Luckily, I will say, and you met him. This builder has been great.
Very good. He's very good.
And he's not necessarily I don't think he does huge builds like that all the time. I think he's more of a remodeling type
Which
guy.
I said in the video,
But he's as far as payment, he's on it. Whenever there's an issue, as long as it's addressed to him, he's on it. But I don't want to say I don't think people saw this coming, but it shouldn't have been my responsibility necessarily to design that whole shoring plan for them, knowing how bad it was going to be.
Yeah, then
which ended up happening. I ended up
you
going
ended
with
up
the
having
wall
to fix their something that they should have
Yeah.
foreseen in so I was talking to my friend today who's doing the septic, and he was saying he turned somebody down because he's like, hey, you're not going to get this job. You're not going to get anything approved. We can't move forward because you didn't do your silt fence right. You didn't even dig in your silt fence the right way. You have the silt fence backwards, and where's your sock? Mm-hmm. Where's the hay sock, the wattle?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
you're setting yourself up for failure on day one.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
So he was saying, in that town that he was in, when the inspector, before he gives you anything, he tells you have to do this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. That job, they was just here's your permit, go dig.
Yeah.
No, whatever.
No, we didn't remember. I was so nervous about making the site clean for the demo inspection.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? The day before, I was we were spring raking every piece of little shingle and whatever.
I thought it was so funny. Somebody said to me, why don't you spread it out and hand pick it instead of just trying to use the machine? I'm like, do you not see 5 guys in the video hand picking it? Me and you were out there with rakes and hands. When you do a video, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Because you're trying not to insult everyone that's there.
They don't know the backstory.
They don't know the backstory. They don't know the details. I was watching a video one time, and this guy's like, how are you about to sum up You watched a 40-minute video, and you know everything now?
Yeah, about my company, my equipment, the way we do business. Yeah, it's tough.
Another comment that I got, and I wanted to talk about, is the 2D grade control on that machine that you have. Mm-hmm. you chose to abandon it because it was frustrating in the beginning. Because every time you set the bucket down, the machine would rock a little. And the sand here, you would literally sink 6 inches. Yeah. And then you were trying to readjust and, and bench it and everything. Mm-hmm. And then I tried that. I don't, the fencing thing, remember you were trying to do the fence with the bottom of the hole on the machine to where it won't let you? Mm-hmm. I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, when you curl in, people don't notice, but, like, when you curl in sometimes, your bucket goes down.
Yeah.
So it won't let you, like, you'll be, like, trying to bring the arm in, and it'll just stop, and you're like, what the heck? But it's just because you're, like, curling in. But, yeah, so to get into that, I mean, I don't call myself a machine operator by any means. I mean, I think you've seen me run a machine. I'm definitely not the best guy around, but basically from where I'm standing from, I went from running machines all the time in high school to being in the office for 5 years, never sitting in a machine, back to all of a sudden owning 3 machines, running them by myself. So, like, trying to get back into it, you know what I mean?
Pretty good to me.
And that site, as you know, we talk about it, wires everywhere, super tight. You got sand caving in. We're trying to figure out material management wise. We're trying to store 3,000 yards of fill on this site where it's
not going to happen.
Like, so, I'd find a good spot, try to set up the 2D grade control, and then I'd spin and you're like in the wires, and then I have to move again and set it. So it got to a point where you talked about it. We were like, just bulk the whole damn thing out.
Plus, here's the thing. You were paying each one of those triaxles.
Yeah, a lot of money.
A lot of money. Mm-hmm. And they were going right around the corner.
Yeah.
So it's like you had to make a
just
business decision.
Fill them, and go.
Yep.
We can mess with the grade, drop the skid steer in the hole, have a guy down there with the laser.
And it was funny because, like, when you were like, I think...
And the best part is...
You were like, oh, you should have seen me, dude. I was like... And we were laughing about it. Yeah. We weren't stressed. Yeah. You're just like, oh, I was, like, tangled in the wires. And then at one point, when I was carrying that piece of concrete, remember? I was, like, driving, and I'm focusing on the piece of concrete.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. And then I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, into the wire because you're focusing on here.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh. And then I had to, like, back up. So the wires were a nightmare.
Yeah.
But, so, moving on from that job is done. It's over with, right?
We got the backfill and the septic to do over there, but knocking wood, the hard part's over.
The hard part's over. So, your first job, that was your first big job, right? Done in the books, right? What'd you learn from that?
I mean,
don't bring Steve around.
No, I know you helped a lot. I think we talked about it in the demo. I think the demo could have went a little smoother. I think if I basically, the way that the trucking dumpsters worked out, I had a day with the machine on site before the dumpsters could get there, so I decided to knock down the whole house in one day.
Here's the biggest thing, right? You were excited. It was your first real job.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You just bought this machine.
Yeah, first machine. Yeah.
You're not gonna wait that extra day.
Who doesn't want to drive an excavator through a house? Yeah. But
because I was like, and I blame myself.
And what's funny
a
is
I
blew the hydraulic line the first day with trucks coming in the morning. Remember that?
Oh yeah. I wasn't there, but probably shouldn't be eating pizzas. This is really unprofessional. I'm not a professional podcasty guy, so. Yeah, I remember you. I wasn't there the first day, but I remember you're like, dude, this O-ring blew out and everything.
Yeah.
But I was really impressed that Caterpillar came out when you thought your bucket was bent.
My salesman, yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
And I can't get Komatsu for the last three months. Are we going on 3 months now?
Yeah.
I can't get my Komatsu dealer to give me a price on something they told me they were going to do to my machine. It was supposed to go in.
Yeah.
So I'm really aggravated. If it wasn't for the fact that my machine, it's paid for, and I want to talk about that real quick, I'd go trade the sucker in just to get away from the service department. Yeah. I'd go get a Caterpillar just because I like the way that they've treated you.
Yeah.
And that makes me really...
I can't say necessarily that their service department is... the service guys are awesome.
Yeah.
But getting them down, like, schedule-wise and stuff, if you're not, like, a huge company, can be tough. Like, it's a couple days.
A couple days.
But you'll get parts.
I can't even get my Komatsu
to even show up. Yeah.
No, every day I talk to him, I'm like,
luckily
where's my thing? He's like,
cat salesman is local to us, which is nice.
Yeah.
That makes. But that's probably the reason. After I got my skid steer, I wanted to go through cat was because my salesman's been great. Shout out Justin.
Thanks for the hat. Bryson wears it all the time.
But yeah, so he's been great. But yeah, we can talk about the machine. I mean, I'll say straight up, part of the reason I got Cat was I mean, I think we talked about it a little earlier, but it's where I could get approved for a loan.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous, honestly, what I got approved for. I mean, I have,
It's insane.
I can't use my business credit because it's so new, but I have, very good personal credit, and I got approved for like $800,000 worth of machines at Cat, which I think is
insane.
So, but yeah.
But you have to pay for it,
Yeah.
So, I have this thing, right? And I was thinking about it today, and I've never told you this, but I kind of wanted to tell you about this. When someone says their machine is paid for, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think? What does that translate to you?
You're not making, a monthly payment to the finance company or the bank on it.
You know what I figured out today?
What?
That, what translates to me? Is that it's paid me back what I put into it, too. So, I was thinking about it today. When it's paid for, that means everything that I paid in payments, I've made back with it, and it's paid for itself.
That's a good way to look at it.
Right? I thought about that.
I mean, thinking about it, though, is it ever truly paid for between maintenance and, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, my story.
There's good investments, and there's bad investments. I talk a lot about.
I just got super lucky with mine.
Yeah.
Both of my machines, all of my machines.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time searching for the deal. Mm-hmm. It's not like, I just like go to Cat and I go, I need this because I got this job. I had some time to search for the deal for me.
Yeah.
So I have really good investments that have had like crazy return on the investment. Mm-hmm. But as far as like buying machines goes, where do you see yourself with your machine in the next few years?
Yeah, it's like a never-ending battle. I was actually talking to a local guy today about it. My machine, when I bought it, or when I got it 3 months ago, is worth about $80,000 more today than it was 3 months ago. Part of me is like, would I be an idiot not to sell that? Like,
yeah.
I mean, am I an idiot if I don't sell it and take that $80,000 and whatever, put it towards a used machine or get another machine? But then it's like, the reason it's worth so much money is because inventory is so hard to find.
Right.
And you've run my machine. I think it's a perfect machine for what I want to do.
I like it.
It's a good size. It's a Cat. It's the resale value.
I like the 3D grade control that works like the laser and tells you where you're at.
Yeah.
But I do not like the fence. But that's just me.
Yeah.
I don't like when the thing stops on you.
But I think like the speed, the power.
Oh yeah.
The technology. I'm definitely haven't spent a ton of time with it.
Yeah.
Most of the time, like I said, I'm just like bulking out stuff with it. I'm not really.
That's practice here.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen other people that have all these fancy like Angkong things and all that. When I was coming up, in my early 20s, you got a bucket.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't get a quick cupware
You didn't even have
with
thumbs
two
for
buckets.
demo back in the day, right? I mean,
No. I remember my buddy getting knocked to the ground when a guy grabbed a log and he pinched it between the stick and the bucket and it shot out and hit him in the chest, knocked him to the ground. Like, we didn't have thumbs.
But yeah, I think machine-wise, I mean, end goal for my business, I'd love to do a little bit of residential, a little bit of commercial, and a little bit of municipality work. We have a lot of sewer and water work coming up in the next 20-plus years here. I'd love to get into that. But I don't know. I guess the next couple years, my goal definitely, we were talking about it when I walked in, I want to buy like a 10-wheeler or tri-axle. It's the next move for me. The amount I'm spending on trucking a month, if I told you guys, I think you'd probably throw up. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's a necessary evil, unfortunately.
But when you don't have it, you don't have a driver who wants insurance and benefits, and
Yeah.
you don't have tires, and you don't have fuel.
No, and it's not that hasn't been factored into my jobs. I mean, like we talked about, estimating is kind of, and we can talk about it in a little bit, but that's what I love to do, and I'm very confident in my estimating. So all that trucking and everything is in the jobs, but it's just like, wow, that's, even if I had my one truck on instead of 2 hired trucks on, just hired one, it's like half that money could have been reinvested into.
I like to look at like I've told you before, my stance on my situation is I have the big trailer to move large machine if I want to rent it. Mm-hmm. I got a big air brake, CDL.
Yeah, tag trailer.
21-ton tag. Mm-hmm. But my thing of it is like I was telling you before, I don't look at I've had trucks, lots of trucks. So I've had 13 trucks, large trucks. Wow. Over the years, not all at once. Yeah. The most I've had at once of large trucks is probably 3 large trucks at the same time, and then some small 6-wheelers and 1-tons. You know what I mean? So like I think I've had 6 dump trucks and dumpster trucks and small 1-tons at one point at the same time, but 13 altogether. And the thing of it is they just don't make as much money as the machine. So when people say there's no money in trucking, they don't mean there's literally $0. They just mean in comparison to what you're making for the machine. So my thinking is if you got, like I have, one truck that could move your machine around and you don't...
that job you have like a half day. You're not paying for a truck for...
Or 2 stumps to haul off.
No, exactly. Because, like I do it all the time and I probably shouldn't, but those jobs you like hire out a truck for the day. You could probably do it in like 5-6 hours, but you end up like milking it to try to
look at
give them the day.
Look at the job that you and I did where I took out those stumps for you.
Yeah.
And hauled them off.
Yeah.
Like
if I had a 10-wheeler, could have brought my big machine there and taken it done. Yeah, no problem.
And but you can move your machine around, but
I'd like to hire one guy with his Class A that can help me labor, run a machine if he needs to, and then run the truck when we need to. Would be my goal in like the next 6 months to a year. I mean, I think I'm all right machine-wise with what I have. I work a lot, and we can talk about this, but guys like yourself and this guy John that's been helping me, owner-operator, one-man bands like myself, I think I'm a believer that there's no competition. There's plenty of work out there. I think if we can all help each other in some way, it'll pay it forward, and I know people don't look at it like that. I mean, I know guys who like won't even see my name and answer the phone call because I'm in the same industry as them now, which I think is crazy, but been in jobs against them. But
it's hard around here though.
Yeah.
It's a saturated area.
Yeah.
I have guys, I've said this to you before, I have guys that will go through my Facebook page, like business and, and whatever, and personal, and they'll like certain things, like a truck or something, or like an old truck that I have.
Yeah.
This has happened to me a few times in the last few years.
Yeah.
And I'll see the like button, and I get the notification.
From a picture from like 4 years ago.
From pictures, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, I'll be driving in town and all of a sudden I'll see them pop up with the same truck. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, they were just liking the crap out of that, like 5 different pictures of that truck. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden, I have one person I'll tell you later in particular. And now all of a sudden, dude popped up with the same truck. That happened to me last year or the year before. And I'm like, wow, that was obvious. You're studying me. So I also think to preserve your own business, you do have to be careful.
Yeah.
How much?
No, there's definitely like, and we talked about it, there's guys that you'll bring on your job and they'll be giving the builder their card behind your back.
Which I hate.
But
I hate that. It's been so many times where I've like been on someone else's job and someone will come up to me and be like, hey, do you guys do it? And I'll be like that job down there. The neighbor came up to me and was like, hey, I want to tear down my house. And I was like, well, talk to James.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's your job. I'm on your job. There's no reason for me to be plugging my stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like, if you're on my job, I would hope and I would assume you'd be like, nah, talk to Steve, like, whatever. Because then that creates a working environment where we continue to work with each other. Mm-hmm. And I know some people that aren't like that. Yeah. I've had people on my jobs literally hand out a business card. Yeah. And just take the customer. Mm-hmm. Like, because I'm open with them. Yeah. They know what I'm charging them. They know.
Yeah, you share your numbers. You share. Yeah. You got to. Yeah, I agree with you. You got to be careful about some of that stuff. More like person to person. Yeah. But I think for the guys like I've been working with, like you and other, I it's not something that worries me.
Well, I mean, I'm a little weird. Like I don't, me. I want to move. Like I'm not trying to grow anything here. You know what I mean? I'm kind of. terrified to get sick again. So like other people are like wanting to build some big giant company, and I'm like probably the only person you'll meet that doesn't want to be any around here. Everyone wants to be some huge big dog, and I don't, and it weirds people out.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I don't even necessarily know if I want to be a huge big dog. I mean, I love to have my company and be profitable and be able to do the work I want to do every day. And it's like, if I grow, great. If I stay small and keep it all, so be it.
well, what happens is like years go by, and then you look back, and then I've heard a lot of bigger guys, and they go, "How the hell did I get? How did this happen?"
No, it just blows.
It just snowballs.
You get a couple of those good contracts and builders and whatnot, and it just spirals.
Now,
and then you're feeding the beast, like we talked about.
Yeah, feeding the beast. Now, here's another thing too, right? How do you deal with the stress of? Remember when you called me and you're like, "Dude, you're never gonna believe I'm having like a bad month. What happened to me?" Yeah. And I'm like, "What?" You're like, "I just blew the back window out of my pickup."
Yeah.
And then somebody who was driving your pickup ran over a rock.
So this story's great. So I call my truck Christine. For those of you who know, it's a great horror movie, Stephen King novel. Well before my time, but great movie. I have a F-350. It's in the driveway.
I like this story. I'm going to get some pizza.
7,000 miles on it. That's all I have on it.
What year?
2021.
2021?
I think. Yeah, whatever this year is. So when I was at my old company, I had a company truck, F-150, and then I had this truck to tow my skid steer around on the weekends, whatever. It had no miles. So I'm moving out of my buddy's place that we talked about at the beginning of the show here, and my younger brother's helping me.
Oh, it's a show.
Yeah, it's a show. Look at this. We set up.
This is how I keep myself quiet.
And my younger brother was with me, and I was like, all right, well, he's not going to drive my company truck. Like, God forbid something happens. So we had my company truck loaded up with furniture and stuff moving out, and my personal truck. He hops in my personal truck, gets lost in my neighborhood, tries to 3-point turn, and drives over a boulder wall. It gets stuck underneath the running board of my driver's side and like bends it. And the problem on the new Fords is the running boards are like tacked into the aluminum on the frame.
You know what some Chevy guy's gonna say?
Yeah. So believe me, I'm leaning toward Chevy at this point. So the step sheared off the brackets and the aluminum on the bottom. Took it to 4 different repair places. $18,000 worth of damage on a truck that had 1,500 miles at the time. For my brother I couldn't really, he was helping me move, so I can't really ride him too bad about it. But, and then my first week in business, I was loading the transfer tank. You talked about the rear window. I was loading the transfer tank in the back of my truck. The chain slipped off, smashed my rear window. 2 days later, I went to a rental yard local to us to grab a compressor. And the owner of the rental company, we were just talking, and because we've known each other for a while, and he threw the compressor hose into the bed of my truck, and both the metal ends, the connectors, hit both my rear taillights at the same time. It shattered both of them. And this is all in like the same week. And then I think a week later, I was towing a mini excavator behind my truck, and I was coming down this hill that was straight sand, and the machine was like a little heavy on it, and it kicked out and jackknifed and smashed the whole rear. This is all in like 2-3 weeks of time. So yeah, that thing looks like it's been through Fallujah, and it's got 7,000 miles on it, but it's a work truck. I think I'm gonna take the body off, put a utility body on it, and then when I hire a guy or something, that'll be his truck, and I'll get another truck. But it's meant to work,
Because you can't really see that dent under the door where your brother ran over the rock.
You can't tell it. There's just no running board on it, but yeah, to get it fixed, and yeah, it's like $18,000 worth of damage, and it has to sit on the lift for a month because they have to take the whole frame apart.
Didn't you say they totaled it or something?
They were going. I mean, parts are so hard to come by now. They were going to total it, but they ended up deciding not to. But unfortunately, it needs to be a certified welder from Ford to do it, so it has to go to the Ford dealership.
Because it's aluminum, right?
Yeah, and they were like, this needs to sit on, not like sit waiting for parts. This needs to sit on the lift for a month. I'm like, that's my day-to-day business truck. And they're like, oh, we'll give you a rental. I'm like, okay, what, you going to give me a Prius and I'm going to tow my skid steer around with it?
Right.
So that still hasn't been fixed, but yeah, that's...
So let me ask you something. Even though you've had, I would say, You've had a little bit of a rough start. Is it fair to say that? And how many?
It's growing pains, right?
Yeah, and how many months have you had your business open?
5.
5 months. So in 5 months, you've dealt with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You've dealt with not getting paid. You've dealt with, I would say, friends taking advantage of you. Mm-hmm. You dealt with problems on the job.
Yep.
You've dealt with logistic problems because you're moving stuff with your truck. You've been pulled over. You've had to deal with the DOT telling you your machine was your skid steer wasn't. You had to argue that the guy was wrong.
Fun last week. I don't know if I want to get into that story, but
no,
yeah.
but
we've been through it all, and I mean,
in 5 months, you've been through a lot.
Yeah.
My question to you is because I don't know how much more camera space I have on this. So my question to you is, would you change? Would you go back? Do you have any regrets of doing anything?
Honestly, the only regret I have about starting my business is not starting it sooner. Only regret.
Good answer. Because that's always been mine whenever I do anything. Mm-hmm. Why didn't I do this sooner? Yeah. So I could get the problems out of the way sooner.
You're always going to have problems. You're running a business. It's not going to be perfect every day.
No.
It's not perfect most days. I can't even remember the last time I had a perfect day.
Right.
Especially when you're working by yourself. I'm used to working for companies, deep pockets. I'm, every tool, equipment, thing you can imagine.
Right.
And
same with me.
At your disposal. And then all of a sudden you're on your own out there, fending for yourself. So it's...
I found that to be the hardest. And the thing of it is, I come up with a company with a lot of guys. Mm-hmm. You go to jobs, there's like a couple different operators. There's like multiple laborers. Somebody's always talking, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm a talker because of that.
Yep.
So I find now I'm on a job and I'm by myself a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And human beings are not meant to be by themselves.
Yeah.
Okay? So I always end up
on the phone or whatever.
On the phone.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Well, it's a lot of time we talk in machines just shooting the shit.
Just shooting the shit. And it helps to...
Talk about people who have been there and know what's going on, you know?
Yeah. So, I guess in closing, I'm going to show you my notes. Because I've been taking deep, like, in-depth notes.
I was going to say, you want to talk about estimating real quick?
Do you want? Yeah.
It's up to you. I know you've got a lot of questions about it.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Or we can maybe do another video another time about it, because you could talk hours about estimating.
Let's do another video on that, because I'm not sure how much this SD card has on it.
No, definitely.
Let's maybe like next month we'll do a video. If you guys want to hear a video on estimating, leave a comment about it and exactly...
If this video gets 100 likes, we'll do a video on estimating.
We're going to do one anyways, okay? Because I like to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we'll do a video anyways, but what particular parts you want to hear about, leave me a comment in it. What part of estimating a job, because a lot of guys have certain aspects of that that really they don't get. Mm-hmm.
Or if anybody has any other questions about me, I'm an open book when it comes to this stuff. So
yeah,
after this video,
so
if I can do anything to help anybody, I mean, I'm young, I haven't seen it all by any means, but
yeah. So you want to see my notes?
Let's see it. It's a big picture.
That's all I got.
It's awesome. I was going to wear a tie for this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a clown. All right.
Awesome.
James, thank
you for having me, Steve.
Yeah, no problem.
And until next time, I guess.
All right. Catch you guys on the next one.